buyers and sellers will find you on social media, but more often than not, if someone reaches out to me on social, it's because they first found me on Google. I was traveling a lot to like trade shows, which was so helpful when I started hosting open houses.
I think people go to conferences and just like wallflower it, right? But if you're like, I got to meet as many agents as possible because they are going to be my database.
You have the mindset and energy of a newbie agent, but you have the knowledge and the confidence of someone who has done this and understands. Mm-hmm. So that's really the perfect combination.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
Hi, Christine.
Hi.
Okay, this is episode 264, and I want to read your bio for two reasons. One, obviously we have a guest today, and I want to tell you who Christine is. But two, I want everyone to be get out their notepad and taking notes. This is how a bio should be done. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Alyssa hasn't heard it yet, so I'm going to read it. Okay, this is from Christine. I get it. The process of buying or selling a home can feel a bit overwhelming, especially if it also means relocating and starting over in a new location. But don't worry, I've got you. As a military veteran spouse, I've personally been there, so I know firsthand what you're going through. And I have the tools and systems in place to make your next move as smooth as possible. Real estate is not a one-size-fits-all industry. My creative and modern approach to real estate marketing and negotiations gives my clients an advantage. It's translated to winning in competitive, multiple offer situations for my buyer clients and in maximum exposure and more net proceeds for my sellers. I believe in clear communication, effective data-based strategy, and I genuinely look out for the best interest of my clients. About my process. First, I get to know you and your individual needs. We sit down, discuss my process in detail, and then we strategize a plan unique to you and your goals. I proactively manage every detail along the way, keeping you informed and prepared with solutions for any obstacle that may lie ahead. Louisiana, born and raised, and proud graduate of LSU, go Tigers. I'm the daughter of an immigrant, first-generation college graduate, U.S. Navy veteran spouse, and complete optimist. There's always a solution. I'm no stranger to hard work and adversity, and there's nothing I love more than helping others succeed in their goals. The Navy relocated my family from Louisiana to Washington State and finally to Madison, Wisconsin, where we plan to call home for a very long time. When I'm not out showing homes or negotiating offers, I'm spending time with my fur babies, planning a weekend adventure with Adam, my husband BFF, binging the latest Netflix show, or sipping wine with the girls. Real estate is one of the biggest investments in your life, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. It's an honor and a privilege to serve you.
That was beautiful. You wrote that?
I did. Thank you. That was uncomfy listening back to it. I felt like it was so long, but thank you. That's really nice.
It was long, but it was like everything you needed to know as a consumer. I felt like it gave a lot of context to who you are without it being like just fluffy, you know? And it made it about them. Because you're like, this is how I'm going to help you. This is what, you know, my experience does for you. So I just think that that was a really smart direction to take it. Not that this episode is about writing your bio, but when I read it, I was like, oh my God, we're going to read this.
So good.
I could have paraphrased it, right? Like I could have cut out some stuff, but I'm like, no, I'm going to make everyone listen because I think that's one of those things you struggle with, right? When you open your real estate business and you're like, well, how do I describe who I am? So tell us a little bit about yourself beyond what I've read here that you want the listeners to know before we dive deep into moving.
Yeah, well, thank you. I feel like I have revised that so many times. And finally, with the move to Madison, I was like, this is an opportunity to get it right and leverage my, like, the areas where I'm most vulnerable and I feel like could be obstacles. If I leverage it in the right way, maybe it'll speak to my ideal client, which would be someone going through what I've been through. So, yeah, I mean, the bio touched on a lot, but I've been in real estate for 6 years. I was in real estate for 4 years in a really hot military market prior to moving. And my husband was prior military. He's no longer active duty. He still works for the government. And I always joke that like it feels like we're still in it because the job is so similar. But yeah, I moved 2 years ago now and have just really been, you know, rebuilding here and honestly just using it as an opportunity to just fall in love with this new city that we're living in.
Our favorite agent marketing tool is now a monthly membership with no contracts. Cancel anytime, and you can get your first month for half price with our code HustleHumbly.
Modern Agent Social Club, MASK for short, is the marketing membership that pairs current content trends with timeless strategies to help you grow your real estate business from the comfort of your pool lounger.
When you join Mask, you'll have instant access to relatable and approachable content every single month because your brand needs you in it.
You'll also get a weekly private podcast giving you the creative strategies you need to stay relevant, marketing campaigns to grow your email list, and weekly email templates to keep you top of mind with your database and so much more.
We have great news for you. The doors to Mask are open now with a bonus. The Modern Agent Starter Pack is your 5-day plan that takes you from overwhelmed to knowing what to post with confidence consistently.
Head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/mask and use the code HustleHumbly to get $50 off your first month. That's hustlehumblypodcast.com/MASC. Okay.
So what's your year breakdown in different markets?
So 4 years in Washington,
Okay.
2 full real estate years. June actually made 2 full years here in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Did it feel like you were a brand new agent when you made the transition? Like, how much of your knowledge carried over from Washington to Wisconsin?
So I always tell people that I actually would have preferred starting over from scratch, like being a brand new agent, than starting over as an agent, because now you kind of know what you don't know. Whereas when you're brand new and you're fresh, you're just so excited about this new job. Like, there's so many things that are exciting. And then there's so much beauty in like what you don't know. So you're not like stressed out about some of the hiccups that could happen by not knowing this particular neighborhood or whatever. But I forgot what the question was.
Me too.
I like there and like, I don't know what's happening here. Okay. So did you have to unlearn, or were you able, like, did you feel like I guess you felt like a brand new agent, but was it that you had to unlearn, or were you able to be like, okay, I have these systems in place, I'm able to carry them over to this new place, and it's really just a matter of me finding the business?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So yes and no. Like, I had all the systems in place, so that part was wonderful. I knew that the minute I moved, I needed to focus on understanding the area, understanding the contracts, figuring out how do they negotiate here, because every market negotiates so different. But then also the hardest part that was actually unexpected was how different the forms were. And actually those little small, minute differences from state to state, where I had to unlearn and relearn. And you don't want to highlight the things that are different every time, but it's like, I had to talk to my broker so often. I'm like, okay, in Washington, you never deliver the inspection report without permission. In Wisconsin, you have to. And it's these things that are so big and important in transactions. So that was really the biggest hurdle, was just like unlearning, relearning, and just trying to like really embrace this new place.
Mm-hmm. When you left Washington, you had 4 years worth of business and you were doing well there. What did you do with that business? Like, did you just refer it out? Did you keep your license for a while? Did you sell it? Like, what happened to your old business?
Okay, so I have to kind of like tell you guys a story, because it's honestly wild. So we knew we were always going to move. Like, a move was always a possibility. It was somewhere in the future. Just with him being military, we weren't planning to stay in Washington. We knew he was going to get out and try to get this job that he got. And so we were in year 4. Business was like pretty much referral only. And, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm like blanking on, what did you ask me?
Okay, well,
I'm like, I could go in so many directions. I'm so sorry.
I know, that's okay.
I need to like write it down.
So what did you do with your old business?
Oh, old business.
Like, did you sell it? Did you give your database away? Did you refer it? Did you keep your license?
I want to hear the story.
That's okay.
We're like on the edge of our seats.
I know. My dream scenario was I would have put a little team in place that maybe there was a stronger split in place for the first transaction and then just referrals after that. We found out in January 2022 that there was a list of 20 places for him to choose from. We ranked that list in 24 hours, and a week later, we found out where we were going, and his start date was 2 months later. So there was no, like, it really took me by surprise. Like, we knew it was always a possibility, but there was an 18-month time frame from when he was put through the hiring process to when he got that list. And so much happens, as you guys know, in real estate, like with your business and being in a military market, people are constantly coming and going. And so my business, it was at its busiest when I realized, oh my God, like I can't hire anyone. I need to save everything. I really need, so like in a point where it was time to kind of scale and actually hire help, I couldn't. And I was moving. We were selling our home, buying a new home. I had to get an all new license. So it was beyond chaos. Like, I don't wish it on anyone for that short of a timeline. But anyways, I ended up it's because I knew so many great agents there. I just worked out a really nice, like a referral split, just what felt comfortable for both of us. And it's really just referral based at this point.
So where you ended up, where did it fall in your ranking of places that you were hoping to go to?
It was our number 2.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Yeah. We thought, I was like so certain we were going to Austin, Texas. Just like all the signs were pointing there. And then we got the list and it said Madison. And I was like, okay, I've never been here. I knew Chelsea Peterson lived in Oconomowoc, which is super close. I was like, she makes Wisconsin look so much fun. So this is what it's going to be.
Now, as a person from Louisiana, were you freaked out about obviously Washington, you had some winter situation, but were you like a little freaked out about being like, this is where I'm going to live probably forever, and it is like a wintry northern state?
I was freaked out because where I was in Washington, it snowed 1 or 2 times a year. The city would shut down. It was not like the norm. And I was like, okay, if I have to embrace this, I need a really good coat. I need to go shopping. I need awesome shoes. Like, I was just trying to lean into the fun side of it and be prepared.
Like, how do I dress like an Eskimo? I do think that, how do you feel now that you've been there for 2 years in Wisconsin? Because I think there are some really strong parallels to Midwestern and Southern people, right? It feels very similar when you're in it. So do you agree?
100%. I tell everyone that will listen to me, I feel like Madison is kind of like the Austin of the Midwest, where it kind of pulls some of my favorite things of the South and my favorite things of living in the North and up in the Seattle area. But it's just like, it's this warm, hospitable place. There's so much to do. There's a lot of water around, which was really important to us growing up, on the coast and then living in Washington State. So many parallels. It's crazy. I wasn't expecting that.
Did you have a career before real estate?
Yeah. In New Orleans, which is where we met, my husband and I was working for the spirit industry for like an event festival. Okay. And then when the military moved us to Washington, I started out in food and beverage sales. I was actually selling smoked salmon. Oh. And I was traveling a lot to like trade shows, which was so helpful when I started hosting open houses. But I was like, I do not want to travel and like schlep 50 pounds of salmon with me. This is not glamorous. I was sneaking into kitchens, like trying to get appointments with chefs who would scream at you. Lots of cold calling. So lots of similarities there.
So knowing that this wasn't going to be a permanent residence for you, what made you decide to get into real estate?
Honestly, I was so naive. I remember I joined a team my first year and I told her, I'm just so excited as a military spouse. I know that we're going to be moving and I can just take this job anywhere. And she kind of made a face and I thought, man, she's really not like supportive.
Yeah, she's like, poor thing doesn't know how hard this is.
Totally.
Right?
She was like, this poor, sweet, naive baby has no idea.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you're 2 years in where you are now. This is your permanent home as far as you know. You had 4 years as an agent there. So we have people ask us this question a lot, which is why we wanted to interview. Very often they're like, oh, I just moved, or I'm new, but I don't know anyone here. Or maybe I am even a military spouse and we get relocated a lot. like, what do I do? And we're like, we don't know. We've always lived and worked in the same place. So we're working from Sphere and database, but we know people, right?
Right.
So what was your production change? Like, how did that transition go? Like, about how many transactions were you doing at your peak at the end in Washington? And then, like, now 2 years in, how does that compare?
Yeah, I was pretty consistent between like 26 to 28 at the end in Washington. And then my first full year here, I closed 8, which was terrifying. That huge shift.
Yeah. Is the price point pretty similar in the 2 markets you were in?
Surprisingly, yes. The difference was, and I kind of remembered this from the beginning. You tend to work with more buyers in the beginning. Oftentimes, it's like first-time buyers that reach out. It's a lower price point. So my average price point my first year here in Wisconsin was definitely lower than where my average price point was in Washington. Because I was kind of also at a place where I started getting sign calls from this lake house listing that I had. And I started to sell like $1 million properties on this lake area. I was like living the dream.
Madison?
This was in Washington.
Oh, it was finally starting to happen.
No, I was about to make it, you know.
You're like, I was right on the edge.
That's such a sad story.
The rug just got pulled right out from underneath her. She was like, I'm a $1 million listing agent.
Time to move. Let's go.
Let's go.
Totally.
First time buyers.
I know. But what's funny though, and I always say like everything happens for a reason. There's a reason that my business exploded in that time frame. I closed 9 transactions in January, which was always my slowest month. But that was the year 2022. And I had joined coaching the year before. And I told my coach, I was like, I really want to hit 40. And I was like, I just want to see if I can do it. And he's like, okay, we're going to have to like outsource and hire people just to kind of like make sure that you've got the support that you need. And, anyways, yeah. So then the move happened and, it was just, yeah.
Okay. But now you're in year 2. We're about halfway through. Is it trending up? Are you still in line like 8 a year? Are you turning the corner?
Absolutely. I actually just closed my 8th deal last week.
Okay. So twice as many at the very least, right?
That is the goal. If I can close 15 to 16 this year, I will be so proud of myself.
That's great. And it's funny because we always say, you know, the first 3 years are the hardest. That's about how long it takes of consistency to get the repeat and referral business going. Yeah. But you had to do that twice back to back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's very painful.
Yeah. But the thing about in Washington that I think about now, I didn't think about it so much then. I was living there for 3 years before I got into real estate. So even my first year, I still had a really good amount of business. I was on a team and I closed 18 that first year on the team. And of those 8 were actually my own leads. And so I was like, well, that's kind of crazy. Like you don't think of this in the moment, but when you start to kind of look back, you're like, wow, that 8 seems to be my number. Yeah. And then when I went out on my own, it was just an area where people moved so much more. And then with the timing here, interest rates spiked. The market's definitely just a little bit different. It's a little harder right now. And so you can feel those differences. So I'm just like putting my head down and trying to just remember what it was like to be excited to be in this industry and just be that newbie agent and be excited for open houses and just do the work that you know is going to pay off.
Which is really the best of both worlds because you have the mindset and energy of a newbie agent, but you have the knowledge and the confidence of someone who has done this and understands. Mm-hmm. So that's really the perfect combination. Can you share the 8 that were your own? Like, where did they start coming from?
In your new place. Yes.
In your new place.
Here.
Yeah. So one tip I have for someone who thinks they're about to move is or that a move is just going to happen at some point in your career, always have like your own email address. So that way, if you do move, you can easily, like you own it. You won't lose contact with people. But number 2 for me was networking with other agents. Through social media, through my coaching program, I knew that a move was going to happen at some point. So I was like, well, if I have a really great referral network of agents and I'm part of this coaching program and I attend these conferences, I'm going to make it really worth it. And I networked and created some of my best friends in the industry through that networking. My first year, 4 of the 8 were agent referrals.
Oh,
that's awesome.
That's really great.
No, it's
what a
crazy.
Great return on investment. You know, I think so many people pay for things, but don't utilize it like they should.
Well,
yeah,
I think you went into it with a plan, right? You're like, I need to meet agents, as many as I can in as many places. So if I'm in this coaching program or if I'm in this, putting myself at this conference where I think people go to conferences and just like wallflower it, right? But if you're like, I got to meet as many agents as possible because they are going to be my database.
Yes. No, and it's so easy to even just pay for coaching and just show up for your call and just kind of like go with the flow. And I was like, I'm not spending this money without making it truly, truly worth it. And I was like, if I could just get 1 or 2 referrals through the coaching program, that will more than justify it for me. It is a big expense and it's scary when you move to a new place where your income is dramatically different. And you're just kind of, your business expenses don't really change all that much because I knew I need to still be spending on marketing. I still need to be putting myself out there because now I'm trying to compete with people who have been here forever and just trying to be in the ballpark, letting my face show up on Google and like those sorts of things. So that was honestly that was like the scariest part was if the income doesn't increase and these expenses don't level out or go down, it's not going to work.
They don't change. Like most of your real estate expenses are pretty fixed. And I mean, whether you're having a good year or a bad year, you're still paying those things.
And I think that's a great question too. So like thinking about family finances, how's your husband feeling about, or how did he feel about your choice to leave and get into real estate? And then when you were moving here, he was supportive of you doing it again here. Like how did those conversations look?
Yeah, I was at a point in Washington, which again, everything happens for a reason. So he kind of got to see the growth and how much real estate really helped and impacted our family. And so he knew for sure, like, that's what I was going to do here. I think we were both a little naive thinking it was going to just like steamroll at the same rate that it did when I first got into it. But I'm so grateful for him that he's never, even whenever I was doubtful, like, should I join a team or, should I just kind of like take a step back? He was like, no, Christine, like, why? Like, you have built this momentum. It's about to really take off. If you let the foot off the gas, like, all that hard work is, for what? So
out the door.
Very grateful for him. And then even back to closing 9 that first year, I moved that following June. And so had I not closed that early on in the year, which I never done before, I wouldn't have had the business savings that I had in place to move.
Yeah.
So it's like there was something higher than myself, like helping me plan and like putting all these little things in place.
So when you started in Washington, you started on a team.
Mm-hmm. My first
and then
year.
did you went solo after that for 3 years?
I went solo in 2020.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
What a fun time.
Right.
How did that go?
Really good. My second listing ever. We hit the market the day before the state shut down.
Oh my gosh.
So it was good times.
So rough.
Yeah.
It's hard times. Okay. I know the question that everyone is going to have the top of their mind when they tune in though. Where did you meet the other people? So you had 8 transactions the first year. 4 of them were agent referrals. That's a great tip. Where did you meet the other people? How did you find these other 4 transactions?
Yeah. Google.
What?
Google and agent to agent referrals is where I got the 4 and 4. Like,
So
I couldn't even believe it.
In your Google profile so that you appear and you got some reviews on there.
Yeah.
And that's how people started finding you.
Yeah. So one of the things that was a huge benefit to being in business already for 4 years was I had really put a lot of time the 2 years prior to starting. I was like, what is Google? Let's figure this out. I built a Google business profile and I really just kind of went back and had as many clients as I could, just be more consistent with leaving reviews, posting regularly, updating photos. I think that buyers and sellers will find you on social media, But more often than not, if someone reaches out to me on social, it's because they first found me on Google. Mm-hmm. Then they go and check my profile and they'll say something like, oh my God, I loved that your profile was so fun. I couldn't believe it was real estate. And then when I saw your social media, it was consistent. And so it's like they gave me the feedback that I knew, okay, it's actually working. Yeah. And so, yeah, crazy. But Google and agent-to-agent referrals were my number one, still are my number one sources.
People that really focus on Google get some really great results. And I think that you focused on those two things the most. Mm-hmm. So you were consistent. You weren't totally scattered trying to do everything. You knew what was going to work for you, and it did. In Hustle Humbly community last year, we actually did a Google challenge where we together as a community set up our Google business profile and did a contest on who could get the most new reviews to their Google profile.
That's
and we
awesome.
got some amazing feedback from that. Just agents saying that they were getting clients from that, and that's really neat. So as far as like a database goes, how do you work on building that?
Yeah, I have two sources. Well, the first one was I use Modern Agent Social Club. I am obsessed. I know you guys love Chelsea too. And I leveraged the fall guide, and I was like, okay, I have no one in my database. Let's see how this goes. I linked to it in my Google profile. I linked to it on social. I posted it in community groups, and I think I got 67 signups from it, which was insane.
Lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I left it just living there. And this is actually a good reminder. I should probably start like thinking about it for this year.
For this fall. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that really helped to build the database there. And then just, anyone that I would meet, I would just try and add them into my my newsletter. I tried to be consistent with sending something out, even if it wasn't a lot. I focus on like what's going on in the area. I give a little bit of a market update. I want it to be something that people actually look at and reference and still know that I'm in real estate. And then I started hosting events. And that is really what kind of built my database now. I have like a little over 300 people. And that's really from just like hosting events, meeting people. Every time we have an event, I put them in there and send a thank you. Yeah.
Christine, what kind of event? In 2 years, to a place you knew no one, correct? Just you and your husband.
Yeah.
You have 300 people in your database.
Yeah.
And they didn't come from an online lead.
No.
They're like humans.
No. Well, maybe some may have. Like if I had an ad running on Google and someone happened to click it, I used Zapier online. So if I got a lead come through Google, they were automatically put on my Flowdesk newsletter list. As far as events go, I started using meetup.com. And
I want you to tell us all about this because I don't even know this existed. And I heard when you did your interview on Chelsea's podcast, and I was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. So for the people who don't know Meetup, give us the whole deal.
Yeah, I don't know Meetup at all.
Okay. It is, I will be completely honest. I told myself, focus on making friends. That was number one for me because I didn't know anyone and I am a person that I need community. So I was like, if I can just focus on friends, I know business will follow. So I essentially, thank you.
I like that.
I got it.
I like that.
Yeah, because it's true. People feel whenever you're so worried about business. And I was like, I know it'll happen if I just like stay consistent. Meetup. So I created a group called, Bitches Who Brunch. I love a risque name. Okay.
I like it too. Find your people, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And in the description, I made it so me as possible that like I wanted it to wean out the people who just wouldn't understand. So I talked about how I love Bravo. I love going to brunch and happy hours and that I don't have kids yet, but maybe in the future. And I have like I wanted to be as specific as possible so that I really threw the net out to my people. I started with a book club and brunch because I was like, I've never hosted a book club for one, and I didn't know anyone. So I was like, we need to be doing something in order for this to not be awkward. And one of my very first clients that first year ended up actually coming from that event, or that first brunch and book club.
How does Meetup work? Like it's its own website and you post your event?
Yeah. So you can create your own group or you can just join. There's a bunch of different groups out there. So Madison is a really cool place where there's a lot of millennials. There's a college here. There's so many people constantly coming and going. So I think that helps. I know where I was before, there was like hardly anyone using Meetup. So it just wasn't going to work. So just try and think of like what works in your area. Maybe it's Facebook groups that work better. And so, yeah, it's an online forum. There's like all these different hobbies and groups that you can join. You just attend the events. Now, I will say allow for more RSVPs because 10 times, like the amount of people who actually show up compared to who have RSVP'd, there's so many people who just no show. But it's still, I was like, if I'm get comfortable being uncomfortable and just focus on making friends. I was like, if I make 1 or 2 connections, if 2 people show up out of this 10-person RSVP, that is a win. And so I hosted probably 3 or 4 of those before I thought, you know what, I should start doing this, but for business now. And because I started to have a lot of the same people showing up and there wasn't really like that deep connection there. So I was like, okay, let's try this again, but maybe focus it on social media. So I partnered with a lender, a financial advisor, myself as the realtor, and an insurance agent to create a group called Friends with Financial Benefits. And
So cute.
I love a little bit of a risky name.
Yeah.
And our first event was like Investing 101. So we talked everything from house hacking to buying your first home. And it was more of like a panel. And we had 16 people show up. I leveraged the meetup.com group and we all just kind of tasked ourselves with trying to invite at least 3 to 5 people. And, I was so impressed by having 16 people show up. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Where did y'all host it?
We hosted it at a woman-owned business. It was a wine bar, and she just let us kind of take over for the night. There was a food and beverage minimum. We had one of the ladies' business partners like sponsored the food and beverage minimum. And we allowed for everyone, whenever everyone checked in, they got a token that gave them a free drink. And then I was like, well, I want them to like take something, like just have our contact information. So we made little goodie bags. And I was like, let's bury the token in the goodie bag so they actually have to see our business card. So,
that's a great idea.
Smart.
Just like anything to actually have them put your face to the name and the event. And we're still tweaking it. We just, yesterday was actually we hosted an event yesterday. That was probably our 4th event. Yeah. We do one every other month. But yeah, it's been really fun.
16-ish people come, or is it getting bigger? Like, how is it going?
It's getting bigger. That particular group, I have 73 people in my CRM from that segment alone. And so when I created a Facebook group, so for the people who attended the first one, I sent out a thank you email and asked everyone to join the Facebook group, told them to try and invite like their friends or bring a +1 next time. And then posting on meetup.com had some people show up that way. But yeah, each one, it's growing just a little bit, each time.
Hey there, are you looking for ways to save time and money in your business?
Email Templates 101 is the communication system you need to bring ease and efficiency to managing your transactions and clients.
Save time and avoid mistakes, all while providing a high level of service for your buyers and sellers.
In Email Templates 101, you'll get 13 downloadable buyer templates ready for your personal touches.
And 19 downloadable seller templates, plus 6 attachment checklists.
Head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/courses to get yours today. Have you had some transactions come out of the Friends with Financial Benefits?
Not from Friends with Financial Benefits yet. I know it's coming. I've definitely have like 3 or 4 leads. So I know it'll happen. It's just a matter of time. And we kind of shifted from Investing 101 because the topics have to be interesting. And we realized we have to have a topic and an activity, because if it's just a topic, it's going to be boring. So we try to have a little bit of fun with it. And then in the summertime, yesterday we just did concerts on the square. It's a free public event that we do downtown, or that the city of Madison hosts. So we just had a little bit of a meetup, and we're just trying to have fun with it and make connections and not always be selling.
Mm-hmm. What I love about this is that we always talk about, oh, well, you have to get people in your database and you have to meet people. So join groups. And like, I have a real life practical newer agent that I've been kind of helping out. And I told her, I said, look, I will pay for your football magnets if you will get 100 people in your database.
Oh, I love that.
So she was just kind of like, she's not from here. She's new here. She doesn't know anybody. She's working really hard, but I'm just starting to think like, yes, you're always in the office, but how is that helping your database,
Totally.
And so she's super friendly and sweet. And I just think that if she could find her thing, but it's funny how like you teach something, and then you find someone that you're kind of like, they're having trouble getting it. And I'm like, what are you interested in? And she's like, I don't know. I mean, I like animals and, helping animals. And I'm like thinking, okay, well, like animals don't buy houses and,
But she could volunteer.
Volunteering at a shelter. And it's like, that's good. But do you meet people enough to form like longer relationships? And so she kind of had me a little stumped. Now, I will say a lot of it is because I'm giving suggestions and I think she's nervous. So she's sort of making excuses of like, well, I don't know. And this is so fascinating to me. One, I've never even heard of Meetup. It sounds like the better, more modern version of like a BNI if you wanted it to be business. Mm-hmm. I think BNI, we've heard some like really great success stories. In our market, BNIs are not hugely successful. And they're very expensive. And this just sounds way more fun. Mm-hmm. Like casually professional.
She went to a lot of trouble to make it very specific to who she is before saying like, hey, meet me. Because you don't want to meet just anybody. She's trying to make friends. It was a different mission. The mission was to make friends. If your mission is to make friends, then you want it to be specific to you. You don't want to go out and talk to a lawyer about a bunch of law books that you don't read. Like, it wouldn't make sense.
And, I was excited about this episode because I thought this is perfect timing because I'm still trying to like mentor this agent, but I'm still thinking to myself, maybe she's more introverted and I don't see her being an event planner per se. So
would she attend an event?
Yeah, like I think she would feel more comfortable attending events and things like that. Did you do anything else? Like, you sound like you are the good combination of techie, yet still very much social and a people person. Like some people are really charming via social media and text and then sort of like dull in person.
I actually feel like that's me.
Package.
No.
No way.
I mean, I know we're talking on a computer now, but even just seeing your face and hearing you talk, you're certainly not that way. But you do seem like you have that good combination where when you actually meet people in person, it would match what your persona is online. And so that's always nice. But now I'm like thinking about my little friend here and I'm like, how do I advise her she's single, she's just really young and new and doesn't know anybody. And I'm trying to think of ways to advise her to meet new people, grow her database, any advice?
Yeah. I totally understand all of that. I had even joined a pickleball lessons because I was like, it's something I know I'll like and I love it. And I was like, I can at least meet a few new people. I'm not someone who works out religiously, but I do love a fitness class. So I tried all kinds of fitness classes and I was like, if I can just make a friend, even a friend off of social media. Some of my best friends right now are friends that I met via social media. So it's like, if she even were to reach out every day to like one or two people that she connects with online, or go to a fitness class and find one person, like commit 2 weeks to it and like go every day and try to find one person and invite that person to an event on Meetup or go to a Chamber of Commerce event. Find like little avenues that feel comfortable and a reason to invite someone to something. Cause oftentimes so many people are looking to make friends too, and they don't know how to like make that first move.
And what I love about how you tell your story is that whenever I share, I'm room mom. And if we get invited to a birthday party for one of the kids, like I try to go to as many as we're capable of. And people are like, well, I always feel slimy being like, oh, I'm just here for business. And I said, that's not what I said at all. But the way you said it, verbalized it so well, you're just trying to make a friend.
Yeah.
And I think if you can focus on the friendships, the business will follow. Definitely. Whereas so many people think, well, I don't want to be salesy and I don't want to be a bother because they're thinking if I focus on the business, I'll have friends one day. And it's like, no, you cannot be there for that. You have to be there with the mindset of if I could make one friend and then that one friend and I become friends on Instagram. And then that one friend and I go to a brunch meeting, meetup. Yeah. Then all of a sudden it's just starts spider webbing into 100%. All these different people.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Christine. Since I know you use Modern Agent Social Club, you obviously utilize social media and your Google profile, and you made your fall guide, which means you went to these local businesses or events and listed them all out and like kind of told people what was going on. Have you met local business owners there that have become friends or who would be good referral partners to you? Did you meet them through social media or did you like go in person to the boutique and be like, hey girl, what's up? Like, tell me about meeting business owners.
For me, I'm more comfortable reaching out on social media because I feel like you can kind of have a back and forth. You can pick up a lot on people's, personalities that way. Then if they see you in person, so then you go shopping at the store, you go get your hair done by them, or you ask them for a recommendation, then it makes like the next step just even easier. One of my first, it's the girl, I love her to death. She does my nails and I'm consistent. I always go to the same person. I promote her business. She always promotes mine. She's been a big advocate of the Friends with Financial Benefits group. And I did it again.
I think that's wonderful. I mean, just being able to get in front of, you're getting in front of the local businesses. But what I like too is that you're not saying, here's about me, here's about me, here's about me. You're asking them about how did you get started? Or do you have a recommendation for someone that does your hair? People love to help and feel needed. And so instead of popping in their DMs to be like, hey, I'm new in town. Let me know if you need to buy or sell a house. Like, I don't even know you, but forming that friendship and letting them know you're interested in them and you value their opinion. All of a sudden, this relationship is just there.
Yeah. And it's from a place of serving. You don't feel like you're selling. Yeah.
It's a lot easier. I think for me, I know it is. Alyssa can make friends with anyone in person. Super easy, like outgoing, like just easy to talk to.
I cannot imagine DMing someone I've never met.
See, that is fine with me. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, hey, like this, blah, blah. Like, so it's just, you have to know your strengths, I suppose. You're an anomaly though. I think most people are a little bit more like nervous about meeting strangers. But social media does make it a little like, look, if they reject you, so what? Like you could just unfollow, don't respond, block, who cares? Like it's not.
Alyssa crawls into her closet and doesn't come out for a week if someone rejects her online.
Right. No, I think it's totally fine. I guess my question is, how did you or do you marry up your social media to like your in-person meetups or Friends with Financial? How are you utilizing social media for those purposes?
Honestly, I could be doing probably a whole lot more. I think where I'd love to see this grow is actually running ads behind the events. I have the Facebook group going and we try to engage and interact in there. And it's hard to get people to interact in a brand new group. I promote all of our upcoming events. I started making reels. And so I actually hired someone local. She's like a recent graduate. She is a photographer. And I had her come and just like take photos on my phone and get video clips. So at each event, I always have like a huge album that I can pull from to promote for the next time. And that's been super helpful to be able to like actually have content from each one. And then I try to do at least 2 posts prior to the event, and I don't put them too far out from the event because people just forget about it. And now we're kind of at the point with the group where we're like, okay, we should be introducing who the hosts are a little bit more and kind of talking how this group came to be so people can understand a little bit more about it and our goals and really resonate with like us as the mortgage lender, the realtor, and kind of pairing that into it now that there's more of like people understand what it is a bit more.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Makes sense. Okay. If you had to move again, what would you do differently?
I don't know if I'd move. No.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not moving.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think what I would do different is really focus on a system in place for my business in the old location. Our move happened so fast. Even though I followed in June and it gave me a couple of months, it was too much going on. So I would definitely just prepare. I would have conversations. I would be actively interviewing agents to figure out who is aligned and wanting to be a part of that. I would create a system within my email newsletter that like I have a drip campaign and something that like staying in contact with old leads and telling them about how I can still represent them no matter where they're moving, especially because it was so many military people they're moving everywhere. So like, let me be your resource. And I still do have a good source of referral business, even not so much just in Washington and all over, but I'm still not leveraging it to the extent that I could be. That would be my number one tip.
Do you still have your license in Washington?
No, I let it go.
Okay. So you just can send a referral to an agent, but I guess it would have been the same
That's
even
all
if you
you
kept your
need.
license there, right? Because you weren't going to work them. It's too far. Did you try to work them in the transition? Like, yeah, I cannot even imagine.
How did that go?
Oh my God. It was the biggest learning curve. I was like, I'm so glad that I did try this and got to experience it. I ended up having, it was like spring 2022. Interest rates had just jumped to like 4.5 and 5 and people started panicking. And I had 3 properties on the market and all 3 fell out of contract. Like one was right before the day before closing. One was 2 weeks before close. Like it was just like worst case scenarios, but I kind of have to learn by fire. And I had people in place and I was almost with the mindset of I'm going to re-up my license. I'm going to have someone on the ground and I can just maybe do listings and I'll be the co-agent. They'll be the primary. And after having those 3 nightmare transactions and like the sale it just never felt like it would end. And all of them were supposed to close in May. I moved in June and the last one didn't close till September. Actually the last one closed 2 days before my license expired.
Holy smokes.
And at that point I knew, I was like, I'm not redoing this. Like I was like, we're going to close this one. And so anyway, so that was like it was such a good realization that like it's not as easy as you think to I'll just be the listing agent. It'll just be my name on the sign. And it's not that simple.
Because I find that so interesting. We have a lot of listeners. We have some people in community that will ride 2 states because they're on the line. Like maybe their town is in a place where they have to kind of be in 2 markets. Mm-hmm. But then I also kind of laugh because I guess I'm so adamant I wouldn't even go work in New Orleans, and that's only an hour away. There's plenty of people that work an hour or 2 hour radius. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know enough about that location. Yeah. So I think it's funny when we're like, oh, we could totally work here and there and straddle this and that. I'm like, if you're going to be really successful in one, you have to be really good at the one, like be present, be in the one market. So I just thank you for sharing that because I was really curious how, if I left tomorrow, I would want to keep it because you'd be like, oh, shoot. Like, well, I already worked so hard to get this business. Mm-hmm. But it's too hard.
And I think there are some personality types that could probably do it. I am just not one. I am someone who I have to focus on what's in front of me. It's just too hard to be split in different directions. It's like even with marketing to my past Washington clients, I have to really make myself focus and every now and again just send out a little quarterly email and touch base just so I don't lose that entirely.
Because you still want
hard.
them to reach out to you so that you can refer them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is actually I think she's an ex-agent. I don't know if she has her license or not, but there's a girl on Instagram who teaches about first-time home buying or just home buying in general. And her following got so big, or it was by design, I don't know, on Instagram, that she now her whole business is to get buyers through her program and refer them out to agents. I don't even think she's an agent anymore. I think she ended up being like a mortgage broker. But she's online teaching through Instagram how to buy a home. And then she pairs you up with her approved agents. It's genius.
No, it's brilliant.
So simple. Yeah.
I met someone in 2019. I went to a conference and met an agent she was an active agent in Tacoma. She decided, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to just like refer business out. And her entire business is content creation. And her website is movetotacoma.com. And she puts out so much incredible info that it is such a lead source for her. And it's strictly referral. She refers everything out. And I was like, but there's so much work that goes into it. There's such a strategy and you really have to focus on that sort of thing. And I think it's similar to agents who are recruiting, like that. Yeah, there's money to be made, but you really have to be
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Just like you say, you can't make money without doing work. So it's just like, what work do you want to do? Right.
Exactly.
Like just make a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. Is there anything else, Christine, that you want to share, especially to our listeners that are making a move or they know they're going to move, they're in a place they know no one and they just got their license and they're like, what the heck am I going to do? Like, what are your final thoughts?
I think you can do it. Don't let this scare you. I'm just extremely honest because I wish that I had someone to like lay it out to me and help me understand. Be prepared and like write out 3 to 5 different business sources. Like, okay, are you going to focus on social media? Great. But like you need something for business now too. And for me, the only way I can do that is actually being in front of people. So it's like open houses. I've done some like door hangers. I hate it. I haven't had anything come from it, but it's something. Every now and again I'll do that. But just try and like be creative in like how you get in front of people, be that resource for real estate, join every group and club and find every just like really follow your passions and try to have fun and just focus on making friends. It's helpful that the people you want to work with, if it's also like in line with your, if your target audience is also people of a similar interest to you. I think in real estate, that's pretty common, but I could see maybe, if you're focused on, I don't know if your niche is divorces, I don't know how that would work, but
yeah.
So yeah, I think just try to have fun with it and let like your own sphere just be fun and don't make them feel like you're trying to sell to them, you're serving. And the other tip I actually had for the agent that you're trying to help, Alyssa, like what if she even just like booked a reservation like for 4 people and just try to invite 4 people, maybe it's 2, and just like plan a girls' dinner. And like, who doesn't want to go to a girls' dinner, a mom's getaway, or like some little niche like that. We'll get into it a little bit. Yeah. I met this amazing agent, who this will roll into my toast, but she taught me the power of just booking a reservation and inviting people to come, and people will come.
I love that. Okay, well, let's hear your toast. I want to hear it.
Yeah, so my toast is for Karina DeBlanc. I met her through Tom Ferry Coaching, and it was my first year. I went solo to an event, terrified, but she created a Facebook group for agents. She created she's booked a bunch of dinner reservations and just put them out there and said, sign up, whoever wants to come. I ended up going to like 4 different dinners. I met so many people through that. And some of these women are now like best friends. We refer business all the time to each other. We always tag each other in these groups if someone's looking for an agent in our areas. And honestly, yeah, she really just kind of showed me that, like, if you make a reservation, there are so many other people who are in the same position as you that will show up. And she gave me the courage to create the meetup.com group.
I love that you said you were going to these things by yourself, even though you were totally terrified at first. Because that's where most people just stop. Like, no, I'm not going.
I love it. That's so great. Well, cheers to Karina, right? Karina. I love that. What a great, because I always think about conferences and I'm like, I can't picture myself alone. Like, you're so brave, like just to go and then like meet the people. But you had a little buffer before because you were in the group, like that Facebook group. And then you're like, see, social media plus in person. That's what you need.
Yes. It's the perfect little,
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. We're so appreciative of your time. And this is a really important topic that I know everyone's going to really like.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks so much for having me. This was really fun.
Absolutely. So fun.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to ratethispodcast.com/hustlehumbly and leave us a review or drop a comment if you're listening on Spotify.
If you have an episode topic or someone you'd like to toast on the show, please email us at team@hustlehumblypodcast.com.
Find us on social media at Hustle Humbly Podcast. Don't forget to find all of the free resources at hustlehumblypodcast.com/resources.
See you next week.